think, will be making maps of the plants, let's say the pipelines to the plants that, feed the plant, and talking about other things that are dependencies and become tradable. They become commodities, even though those of us who are local, we don't want them to be. The way the plants are situated politically in our landscape means that our land is made cheap. And the rules of the United States about how you're supposed to treat the land if you put up a gas feedstock pipeline are not necessarily followed if it's going to get in the way of producing that commodity. So our land is sometimes treated as fungible, tradable, erasable in order to be a part of this international trading system. Our water is sometimes polluted by these facilities in violation of the laws of the United States, if it's convenient for the company, and other things like the air and our health. So we'll be talking to folks up the river who deal with the plants and the behaviors of them, and how sometimes those behaviors make commodities and make tradable some things like our health that we wish were not tradable. So we'll be exploring those questions in the next few days, I think.
I think one of the first important questions is to put on this perspective of the commodity. We are used to talk among persons, are used to deal with objects, but the perspective of the commodity takes one step back and looks into the more material side of what creates objects, what creates flows in from petrochemistry into agriculture, then into our food production, for example, so also into our own bodies. And a commodity is something more raw than an object, but as we see here in the lower Mississippi region with these large plants of chemical industry, already many commodities are the effect of an industrial process, so they are half raw, half manufactured, and so we get different flows into our perspective. We have the flow, let's say, from A to B, from the field into food production, from underground fossil layers into our modern history. But we also get these flows that are in the commodities themselves. So they are produced in large chemical process landscapes. So we have different layers of flows. We have geographical flows, we have internal chemical flows, and then we have also different layers in, let's say, the local perspective, the global perspective, in historical perspectives, and we bring, like in this estuary region here where all the water comes together, we bring many of these flows, systematic flows, together in this seminar and invite the participants to put on this lens of the commodity perspective and as a means to first blur the normal object perspective and then to clarify it.
So I could start now. So I'm coming from Field Station 1. I'm located in Chicago originally, and through my work about substance dependency, I came to the fact that looking into meth cooking, I came into the fact that fertilizers are used for producing meth. And so that again led us to look into anhydrous ammonia and where it's produced. This brought us then to the idea to look into CF Industries, which is located in Donaldsonville, and I think this was also a big part, and as Scott said before, a huge interest of this group. I'm very excited. Benjamin, for example, brought to the group the idea of looking into commodities, the materiality of the commodities. So actually, I can say that people are asked to bring their commodities to the seminar, and I'm very excited because me as an artist, we are so used to look at the materiality of things, objects, artworks, right? So I think it will be really exciting to look at those commodities also under, or with the language of how artists look at their artwork, and what that could bring maybe to the seminar. And I'm 100% convinced it brings a lot to it, and we should do that more often. Maybe, just doing that. But I think this will really give us the opportunity to look at these materialities in a different way. And some smart people say the materiality is the only thing which brings truth to the table nowadays, and I'm really excited about the conversations we will have through this idea.
I spent now one day on the river, and one of the most fascinating things was that we were in a constant commodity flow between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. There were almost no manufactured goods on the river. There were no container ships. It was only grain, petrochemicals, crop, soy, liquid gas, steel. So this is really, the river is a commodity, a flow river. This is, the whole continent comes here together and is then manufactured elsewhere. So we have here in one of the densest spots with chemical industry, maybe in the world. And this is between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. So the geography calls for commodities. Plus we have here historically many layers of dealing with commodities. We have now chemical industries sitting on former plantations, sugarcane, cotton. So we have all these historical, very problematic heritage, this heritage here sitting in the landscape, and with using the materials and the chemicals from these industries, we are somehow linked not only to this chemical landscape, but also to the history of these places. So, like in sedimentology, we have many layers present here in this particular landscapes, and our commodity flow seminar can bring some of these layers to the surface again.
Yeah, well, I guess as a local, I'm happy to welcome everyone to the greatest place on the planet Earth, southern Louisiana. But there's a lot of geographical aspects that we have here that are pretty unique. I think nowhere else on the planet do we have this strong river, the Mississippi River, not the longest or even the biggest, but a very strong river that empties into a gentle sea, which creates an amazing estuary that goes out 90 miles from the city. It's an amazing food-producing region. It's why Louisiana is called the sportsman's paradise. So we have people who have lived here thousands of years, as long as it's existed. It's very new geologically. It's extremely productive ecologically for humans, to live here. Bulbancha as it is and as it was. And yet interposed on that, we also have these global petrochemical and natural resource material commodity flows just juxtaposed or on top of, and this is the essential contradiction of this place where we live, where we have this tremendously dynamic, productive ecological system that's also very vulnerable to the effects of climate change, the hurricanes, the tropical storms, the massive rainfall, and yet we continually place these large concrete and steel chemistry sets in order to produce the chemicals necessary for modern life. So I think we're going to see both of those things. This place as amazing from a natural perspective and kind of amazing and terrifying also from the built environment perspective and how those things interact. Like you said, it's hard to just describe in one little sentence. You have to look at it in a layered fashion, and everyone's going to come away with their own kind of synthesis, I think, depending on the perspective from which they're entering the conversation and from which they leave the campus at the end.
I want to add something. We could say that Louisiana is in some way a chemical process unit for the world. So it links the atmosphere with resources from the lithosphere and puts these products then into the technosphere and into the biosphere. So, and all this happens both on a molecular level and on a planetary level. And we have this really here in a dimension that is really unique in the world, and also in its effects, it's unique in the world. So these fertilizers go then upstream into these big, very industrialized agricultural units. The fertilizers come back then with the water, then they go into the Gulf of Mexico where they destroy the maritime life, but then flow around all those oil rigs, which then provide here the petrochemical industry with their other resources. So this is really something like a system of various organs, one could say an industrial organism, like an industrial monster, and we can only have very little insights in these 4 days into this monster, but at least we will try it.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Which I think is also right, this unique situation, how we got paired up in these groups, that we have Scott here as a local and a citizen science or also a activist, right? So, and that he's willing to work with us and that we can work here and have this experience together. I think that's pretty unique. And
I hope people will think different about their daily life experience, about their role on the planet. They will think different. They might think different about their connection to a geography that at first doesn't seem near to them. We are all connected with this geography here. So local, you are the local here, but we all are in some way connected to these types of industry here. So local and global just flow into each other at this place here. And when all our international participants go back, they will certainly know more about the landscape here. And with this knowledge, they can then think different about their landscapes at home.
I mean, I think I also have an interest to, introduce the art perspective to, the people who are coming more from a scientific background and invite them maybe to think a little bit more like an artist, or maybe to find like different terminologies we can use for these problems we have right now with this vulnerable planet. And and I hope, again, through experiences we create, or we artists, I think we can create experiences, and I think that's very much needed at the moment.
Yeah, as a local person of a place which can seem quite small, even though I believe it's totally, like you say, connected to the earth in like so many ways. It's just amazing to have people come and see us and talk to us and learn about the significance of our place, to see how it is changing and has changed, and provide that outside perspective, because we do get kind of stuck in our own vision of what it is living here. So I'm always amazed by the perspective of people with such intense knowledges and practices coming here to see it and reflect upon it. That always leaves me with a lot. And not only from the scientific perspective and quantifying it and counting it, like this is the biggest thing here and that's the biggest thing there. But also if we're in a struggle here to continue to live here in a certain way. There are going to be changes. We're not going to be able to continue to live here the way we do today, 2019. But there are cultural threads that we hope to, that we will continue to be able to knit in the, from 7 generations back to 7 generations in the future. So I really appreciate the artistic and cultural perspective, because it really is the culture workers that can take these numbers or these scientific pieces of information and bring it down to more of a human level, more of an emotional level that can carry something through generations.